Guess what? Today it's 1st of June, Madaraka Day. And Kenyans of all stripes will be heading to Uhuru Gardens today to mark the 59th Madaraka Day, which will be presided by President Uhuru Kenyatta. This will be his 10th Madaraka Day and the last one as the head of state. So a lot is expected from that particular gathering today, where we know also delegates will be in attendance from 10 a.m. But Kenyans are advised they should be checking in at 6 a.m. They should have done that. This is 7 o'clock on the nose right now. And you're reminded as well to observe the COVID-19 protocols. If you're not masked, if you're not wearing any mask, you will not enter into the gardens today because also of the COVID-19 spike that is now rising. We are at 4% right now, looking at the infection rates, as it were, and also that can be another spawning ground for infections spreading. That is COVID-19 today. But that should not take the thunder and the celebration away. A lot is expected to be happening this morning. If you're headed there, just be reminded as well that the spokesperson of police, this is Mr. Shisho, has advised Kenyans that traffic flow will be smooth flowing this morning. That will not be affected at all. So you're advised to also just go full steam ahead with your preparations to head there. And if parking will be a problem, there is ample parking at Uchumi Supermarket. That is the previous or the defunct now Uchumi Supermarket just along the Carnival Road there. And also Naivas Supermarket also will be accessed today for parking. So Kenyans will be keeping their eyes peeled and keeping out their ears to hear what will be happening today. Also, the political tone and tenor of the country will be tested today there at Madaraka Day. So Kenyans are headed there this morning. 30,000 people will be in attendance. That is the expected number this morning. And of course, we'll have color, pomp, and ceremony there. And to add the gaiety of the occasion today, we'll have President Julius Maada Bio, the president of Sierra Leone, together with the First Lady, that is Fatuma Bio, who will be in attendance amongst other dignitaries this morning, and also members of the diplomatic corps. So we shall be headed there. Our reporters are on the ground just to give you a live wall-to-wall, wire-to-wire coverage from Uhuru Gardens this morning. Remember that particular center has been under renovation since its closure last year, because we expect to be having a national military museum there that, of course, where we'll be having a rich repository of our history deposited there. So we shall giving you more of this as we go along in the program today, where we'll train our focus on what is happening on Madaraka Day and a raft of other issues as well in the country before we head there. So I have my panelists as well to keep me company, and of course to also pick their brains this morning to tell us more on what they expect today and where Kenya has come from since, of course, we gained self-rule in 1963, and where we are at with the 59th, of course, Madaraka Day. Let's hear from our panelists. I want just to introduce them to you this morning. I'm holding court this morning with Dr. Hassan Kanenje, who is the director of the Horn Institute. Also, we have Professor Noami Damba, who is a senior member of GLOSEP on foreign policy and defense. We also have Ahmed Hashi, who is a senior governance and analyst, of course, and an expert on the Horn of Africa analysis. So we want to just hear from them this morning. Let's just begin with you, Dr. Hassan Kanenje. Good morning. Good to see you.
Good to see you too.
At least today is 7 o'clock. It's not 6 on the nose as
right.
usual. Yes.
I'm not asleep here, so these are the days. Yes. Yeah. Good morning, Kenyans, and happy Madaraka Day. Indeed, it's almost 60 years ago today that we achieved internal self-rule. After many, many years of struggle that began with, of course, us resisting colonial and British rule, to becoming a colony in 1920, to getting involved into both the First and Second World War, not exactly with our consent. And this is something that we also, we don't talk about a lot, because that involvement in the two wars laid certain foundations for the struggle, against colonial rule. But fundamentally, this is going to be a day of reflection. And I think one sad thing that has happened in our recent history is history is not being taught sufficiently to the younger generation. And so a lot of young people may not appreciate the extent or the weight of this day. The fact that we gained self-rule after a very bloody struggle, it is something that is lost on a lot of Kenyans, not just millennials. Actually, I think most people under 40, they've kind of lost sight of this because it's not something that is emphasized, and we've become very petty with the politics. But this should be a moment of reflection. I think the president is going to take stock of a number of things in his administration, as well as reflect on where we've come from the time we had our first prime minister was Jomo Kenyatta, to the place where we are today, and just everything has been accomplished and some things that have been missed. Remember, we are still yet to accomplish the goal of getting rid of poverty, ignorance, and disease. And 60 years later, this should not be happening. And maybe it's about time for reflection as we chart a way forward on how best we can be able to make progress in this country.
Right. They normally talk about the sessional paper 10. And when you talk about poverty, I think also that was marked up in the middle of a sessional paper number 10. So have we realized in any modicum of mileage, stamping the corruption, stamping also poverty in this country? Or even as we're coming to celebrate today, there's that wide chasm between the rich and the poor, going by recent even economic survey by the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics.
Good morning, Debal, and thank you for having us. And I'd like to extend my good wishes on this 59th day of Madaraka to all our friends and Kenyans alike. Debal, we have a lot to be proud of as Kenya. Kenya is the 6th largest economy in the continent of Africa, the 4th largest in Africa south of Sahara, and the strongest country economically and militarily in eastern part of Africa. Debal, given that, there should be a lot that we will be proud of at this point. But I want to say something that we need to watch very carefully today. Debal, we have a potential of national crisis on our law enforcement. The DCI and also the prosecutor. Debal, there's a breakdown there. And democracy needs pillars to anchor on. And without law enforcement, Debal, at the time that we're facing national election, potential contested election. Debal, at the time that Al-Shabaab is testing us. Debal, at the time that young people walking with pangas in the street in Mombasa. At the time that there's so many candidates for economic crimes that need to be prosecuted and locked in. We cannot afford to have law enforcement breakdown. So Debal, my point is enough is enough. This thing must be fixed and fixed right now.
Right, this must be fixed and fixed right now. Let's hear from Ahmed Ashi. Good to see you.
Well, Mr. Ainer, it's good to see you. I'm happy to see you, Debal. I want to say hello to my colleagues, and I want to say hi to Kenya. Madaraka Day is a special day for the people of this republic. People have to remember that during the Madaraka Day, we were not yet a republic. It's the Jamhuri Day where we became a republic. So, kwa Kiswahili, ilikuwa manake tumepatiwa madaraka ya kujitawala.
Yes.
So, on May 31st, the waiters at New Stanley Hotel,
yes,
at night, and my father talked to me about this, were not allowed to wear shoes. On Madaraka Day, all the waiters had shoes. And when the waiters were asked, what's the difference between colonialism and Madaraka, He said, we got shoes now. So Debal, so the supremacy of colonialism said that we could not rule ourselves. They said that we were black, we were Africans, we were tribal, we believed in the power of chieftainship, and we had no business running the state. Of course, this is part of the nomenclatura, if I can use an old word, the ideas of a group of people who just wanted to take our resources and use color and racism to fuse in the discrimination about resources, really. So Debal, for me it is very special because my family was involved in the freedom struggle with the Land and Freedom Party. The Kapenguria 6, Debal, were caught in our home in Juja. And the chairman of that meeting and the standing member of the Central Committee of the Land and Freedom Party was Mohammed Hassan, may Allah yarhamah, who was sentenced to hang because he was giving rifles and armaments to the Mau Mau. And it is important that we talk about the men and women who stood up in the darkness of empire. And Debal, the people who fought and brought the British Fusiliers to leave this country, many of them are in Central Province, many of them are in the rest of the country, living in conditions that are not right. And I therefore ask the government of this republic to create a department for the Land and Freedom Party and to catalog and to find out the children and the fathers of the people who fought for the country, for this country, so that they can be part of what's called the national Ugali. It is very unfortunate about that it is the children of the Home Guards, the people who did not fight and who were allied to the district officers and the district commissioners in this country, who finally went into power, be that as may. We had forgiven each other at independence in Madaraka Day when Johnston Kamau, who later changed his name to Jomo Kenyatta. Not a lot of people in Kenya know this. Mr. Kenyatta, as a young man, worked in our family's store here in Karen. And the history of this country, Debal, has yet to be written. And one of the great sadness in my heart, Debal, is that I don't go somewhere for 2 years and write a comprehensive book on the history of this republic. But I want to say hurrah to the people of Kenya, tulipata uhuru leo.
Hurrah. Hurrah. Hurrah to the people of Kenya. And you can see live pictures there coming to you direct from Uhuru Gardens, where we can see also the soldiers they're putting their ducks in a row right now, marching and in preparations for also the trooping of the colors today at Uhuru Gardens. Will that happen as well? Every day, not really every day, but every Jamhuri Day we can see that, and every Madaraka Day as well. Kenyans, as I have mentioned, of every stripe will be in attendance this morning, despite the fact that we know that the COVID-19 spike is going up. Infection rate right now stands at 4%, and we've had the Regional County Commission of Nairobi, that is Mr. Thuku, advising Kenyans to wear their masks. So if you want to go to Uhuru Gardens this morning, kindly be reminded that you should be donning a mask, lest you be prevented from accessing the venue this morning. We have 30,000 Kenyans who will be in attendance this morning, and also adding to the gaiety of the occasion is President Julius Maada Wonye Bio from Sierra Leone, who has been in the country, and of course he was given a state reception there by President Uhuru Kenyatta just the day before yesterday. And also alongside him is the First Lady of Sierra Leone as well, Fatuma Abiyu, amongst other delegates that I'll be mentioning to you in the course of this program. This marks the 10th and the last Madaraka Day for President Uhuru Kenyatta, and today is expected also to give his scorecard on how the country has fared under his regime, and how also big he has gone on infrastructure. We can see that a beautiful expressway right now that is accessible, is underused or is being used as well. Yesterday also we saw the CS of transport in Kenol, that Marua dual carriageway, just looking at the progress of that, and a raft of other issues. The country smarting from COVID-19 pandemic, where the economy had really been battered by that particular pandemic, as it were. And we know right now even Ukraine and Russian war has adversely affected our economy as it is, with the rising exponentially of the fuel prices globally. Kenya also is not an exception. But looking at from the security-wise, because we normally talk about security, it comes at a time when Kerio Valley also, it's a flashpoint right now. Also, children are affected; they cannot really go to school, and we've been talking also a good game about Kerio Valley for the longest time. What is not really happening when it comes to Kerio Valley, Dr. Hassan Kaneje?
Now, Kerio Valley is one of the areas, Dibao, that has been beset by conflict, and of course it has roots, from a number of issues which I think have never been exactly resolved. And every time we get closer to the election, these kind of issues, they get increasingly politicized. And with the avalanche and the supply of small arms that these communities tend to have, it does not make things easy. And I think, as we have seen from very graphic images coming from there of children, it is something that is extremely disturbing. Now, government has, primary role of government is provide security for its citizens. That's the reason we signed to the social contract, so we can be protected and defended. But then there's another aspect of the citizen. As we've mentioned, especially when it comes to community security in this country, local leaders as well as citizens have a responsibility in this. You won't be surprised that when you go down on the ground, these communities know people who are actually doing this, but hardly do they share, certain information with government. There are political profiteers who are trying to exploit these situations, and these people are not being held to account, in part because some part of it is non-cooperation. But generally, local administration should be empowered to be able to undertake some of these initiatives. Community, what happened to Nyumba Kumi, for instance? We should not just be talking about Nyumba Kumi when it comes to terrorism, because what is happening in Kerio Valley is also terrorism. How can we be able to empower these communities to ensure these elements, who are well known, don't get away with murder? What they're doing to children out there is actually very saddening. Now, even as a day such as this one, as we celebrate Madaraka and self-rule, people in Kerio Valley are crying, and they may not really be feeling that there is something worth celebrating. And I think action must be taken, and those who are fanning the flames of war have to be held to account. I do not think that we should pay more attention to when politicians sometimes who are trying to exploit certain grievances or try to mobilize to win elections, they start crying foul about communities being persecuted, just because they're being held to account. Because this is being laid by people, this is being the criminals are being armed by people, and sometimes openly, and so these people have to be held to account. And now my other thing goes to I think the sense among generally the Kenyan political leadership. It is very easy to point fingers at one thing or the other. Rarely do I see a coming together of minds to say, well, how are we going to solve this problem? For instance, Kerio Valley is in Rift Valley. I would like to see Rift Valley leaders come together and find a way of working with the government, which of course is supposed to protecting them, to ensure that this problem is resolved once and for all. Because outside that, we're going to have finger pointing ad infinitum, and this is not going to stop. And guess who is suffering? A lot of extremely desperate, hopeless young people, old people, women, and others. And I think this is actually a stain in generally in our face as a nation that should not be allowed to continue.
Indeed. Professor Noami Damba, also a reaction on the Kerio Valley. Matters of the security is not really the first time. Do we expect also the president really maybe speak to it?
Debal, I agree completely with what my friend Kanenji say. But here are two things that I believe that must be done in order to deal with this place, settle it, and once and for all. First is the short term. Short term is to have a comprehensive law enforcement and understanding of what law enforcement is about, to make sure that the people in Kariobangi Valley, every single one of them carry responsibility. The law enforcement people carry responsibility, politicians and everyone carry responsibility to do that. But that is a short-term solution. The longer-term solution is the issue of the climate. We have to be able to find and provide a viable settlement for the people that live in Kariobangi Valley. It is a fairly semi-dry place, but there is water underneath that place. And so if we can get water out and settle young men and women who right now find themselves loitering without anything else to do, but with AK-47 Debal. And so they will venture out to do things and commit crime. But once we have the fairly good land use, where we have irrigation and settle the families, then we are not going to have these people fighting or raiding the way they are doing right now. So in my submission, Debal, is Kenya leadership, together with that community, has got to commit to do just that.
Fantastic. All right, so before I come to Ahmed Hashi, let me just cross over now to Emmanuel To, who is standing at the ready to just prime us on what is happening. As you can see, we have pictures coming live there from Uhuru Gardens this morning. The soldiers putting their ducks in a row for, trooping of colors today. This marks, as I've mentioned earlier, the 10th Madaraka Day for President Uhuru Kenyatta, and the last one for that matter. And also, we are eagerly waiting to see if the commissioning of Uhuru Gardens today will be done by President Uhuru Kenyatta. Emmanuel To will be able to tell us more. That is a lot of expectations from Kenyans when we had the closure of the Uhuru Gardens in August 2020. And a lot of activity has been going on there in terms of renovation, and this venue has been used. Just last week we saw also air show, that is the military air show, was carried out in that particular venue as well. So there is a rich repository of history that is attached to Uhuru Gardens as it is right now. And even when we hack back to when we got this self-rule, that we are celebrating the 59th of it, this particular point is very sentimental also for President Uhuru Kenyatta. Emmanuel To, good morning. The breaking of dawn today is happening around you at Uhuru Gardens. What are you learning this morning?
Well, thank you very much, Debal. Of course, it is a big day for Kenya, a big day for President Uhuru Kenyatta, who is expected to leave office in the next 68 days. And today we host the 59th Madaraka Day, the last one for President Uhuru Kenyatta and the last for the Jubilee regime that is also wrapping up its activities before leaving office in the next few months, if there are any to mention. About 2 months to go. And of course today the stage is set, everything is set, and where best to begin other than where it all started, or where to end other than where it all started, and that is where these Madaraka Day have been staged at the Uhuru Gardens. And of course we expect a lot to happen. We've seen the military officers here trying to just prep and prepare themselves before they now entertain the guests that will be here. About 30,000 of them who are still streaming in as we speak right now from different parts of gates that are supposed to be the entry points of this very important event. And of course we are here to give you all those details. We expect that President Uhuru Kenyatta will be speaking to some of his main achievements in the 10 years that he has been in power, and in terms of what he's been able to achieve authoritative. We talk about the Big Four agenda, talking about just trying to do more in terms of the infrastructure. We've seen him yesterday launch and of course commission these gardens and the museum that is just right behind us right now. And of course, also ensuring that is part of the process that is going to mark a very important point in the history of Kenya. We also expect that several dignitaries will be here, including invited guests from different parts of the country and actually out of the country. And we saw the Sierra Leonean president also being part of this. That is Julius Maada Bio. Will also be the guest of honor, and Uhuru Kenyatta will be, of course, taking care of this whole event. And of course, we expect that the president will be here at 10 a.m. Before that, we'll see different guests who have been invited coming in. Different members of different positions in government will be here, and we expect that the two competitors in the August 9 general election, Deputy President William Ruto and of course Raila Odinga, the Azimio la Umoja presidential aspirant, will also be here alongside other leaders. And of course, we are here to give you all those details and many more. And remember, this is coming at a time where the political temperatures are rising. We're already seeing interviews being or vetting process happening for those presidential aspirants who want to, of course, be there to take over after President Uhuru Kenyatta. And some of those sentiments that we expect here will also be having a bearing in that aspect. And of course, those are some of the expectations that we have from here. The military officers have put up a big show, and they are preparing to give President Uhuru Kenyatta one of the best farewell parties, if I could say that, as the Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces. I've seen military officers just practicing here, and other military machinery have been staged outside and waiting to also give Kenyans a show, as Kenya shows its might in terms of the military power and the watches that the country has. Of course, it's just something that we've seen, and we saw something similar to that on Saturday, where we had the air show, where President Uhuru Kenyatta was also here on Saturday, where we saw different aircrafts and of course aeroplanes show what they can be able to perform in any situation, and also just simulating some of the activities that they encounter on the field. This process, and of course this event has taken a cost of about 60 to 70 million to prepare all these. That is what PS Karanja Kibicho, the Interior PS, mentioned. And of course, it is a big affair. Normally, we have these events in the counties, but this time round, because it is the last public event or public holiday for President Uhuru Kenyatta, then it had to be staged right here at the Uhuru Gardens, where we also had the last one on December 12th, that is Jamhuri Day. And of course, we are here with these and many more that we'll be giving to our viewers, of course, here the whole day, because this is where you get the whole story, KTN News. And of course, we'll be wrapping these up and of course giving you different shots and different varieties that we have from here. This is the place. Kenyans are still streaming in from different parts of the country. Remember, it is a free affair for everybody to come. Of course, just getting some checkup that we've also gone through at the entrance, because security has been beefed up inside and outside of this place. And of course, we'll be here to give you more details in that aspect. And of course, we also seeing different military officers, police officers, different departments of the security agencies, ensuring that everything goes as planned, as we also celebrate Kenya's 59 years rather, since that independence in 1963. And these Uhuru Gardens is where we saw those events being staged, the very first ones, where we saw Kenya getting her independence, and also a year later being a republic. And of course, these are some of the details that we'll be giving you later on in our live coverage from here at Uhuru Gardens, Dibal.
Right, Emmanuel Joe there. Thank you for that update. As you can see, a lot of activity on the ground right now as everyone is checking in. The gates opened at 6 a.m. this morning, and the Kenyans also are reminded to observe the COVID-19 protocols because of a spiking infection rate right now in the country. I'll always remind you which stands at 4% as it is right now. And we've had also from the Nairobi's regional commander, that is Mr. Thuku, saying no one who is not wearing a mask will be allowed entry into the Uhuru Gardens. Kenyans of every stripes, around 30,000 of them are expected to be in attendance as well this morning. And this is what is happening currently, as you can see there from the screen at Uhuru Gardens. I'm still holding court with my panelists. They will be with me until, of course, we see the marker or the beginning of the celebrations, where we have President Uhuru Kenyatta, who will be checking in this morning. And as soon as, of course, the national anthem now is sung, every activity begins there officially with the entrance of the president, and we'll be also just going live there completely. But in the meantime, we can still follow also other stories that are happening in the country as well. And even as we have that particular picture on the split there, I want just to show you also what you're waking up to on the front page of the pages this morning from our dailies, so that we can also prime you on what is on the front pages of the dailies. We try and analyze that with the panelists this morning as well. So we'll just give you the bold paper this morning. And this is what is on the front page of the Standard, just beginning with the Standard as well. It is looking at the question of integrity. We shall have that on split as we continue apace with the conversation. And this is what is on the front page of the Standard this morning. Chebukati trashes integrity test. You can see there, Sirisia MP John Waluke's clearance by the electoral agency sparks debate following his criminal record and conviction. Attention now turns to impeached governor and other aspirants with integrity questions. It's all about integrity. The integrity seems to be a very lonely word in this country, sometimes when it comes to politics. And this is what is on the front page of the country. Chebukati trashes integrity test. Sirisia MP John Waluke's clearance by the electoral agency sparks debate following his criminal record and conviction. Attention now turns to impeached governor and other aspirants with integrity questions. Remember, yesterday we had also the CJ, who has convened a panel that will make sure that cases of impeached governors also is looked into, and then we'll get go ahead. We have Chief Justice Martha Koome saying MP who was found guilty by a competent court and sentenced, then appealed, is allowed to run in brackets there. Yet when it comes to people who've been impeached, you are permanently impeached. That is what she said there. And that is what is on the front page of the Standard this morning. Question of integrity. Still on the front page of the Standard. Court freezes Waititu's assets. That is where you can follow the story on page 15 of the Standard. The order in 1.9 billion shillings wealth probe follows claims by anti-graft agency that the property was acquired through stolen public funds. Remember, it's 69 days to general election. That is, of course, as always, we know the clock is tick-tocking towards the general election, as we always say here, and the days are peeling off the calendar. So you have 69 days to go. Clark stole 11 million shillings via fake school. EACC claims Joshua Ocharo registered a non-existent public secondary school and diverted free education money to his personal account. That is on page 12 of the Standard this morning. Also, it is Wednesday. Every Wednesday you have Enterprise Pull-Out Magazine coming in handy for you inside the Standard, and you can grab a copy for yourself to actually access that particular Pull-Out Magazine for yourself, to just get primed on what the world of entrepreneurial is all about and how they're training their focus today on women as well. Make sure you grab a copy of the Standard. So CJ has formed a bench led by Majanja Mwita and Thande to determine case seeking to bar Sonko impeached leaders from vying. That is the latest that you can also follow inside the Standard today. Chebukati trashes integrity test, but also the court still is on it. We will follow that story inside there. Looking at the teaser on top here, Bank Boss hails Kenya's 16 billion shillings road project. This This is the president of African Development Bank. You can follow the story on page 7 of the Standard this morning. Nandi's battle pitting UDA independence. All focuses on the counties there, and today is Nandi on page 21. And hard times as cost of living rises. This is on page 26. Will President Uhuru Kenyatta also address this spiking, of course, increase of the cost of living? This is a story that you want to follow on page 26 of the Standard this morning. Here are the facts on Welfare Nations League. You can follow the story on page 40 of the Standard this morning. Let's see what is on the front page of the Daily Nation. And this is what you're waking up to, the front page of the Daily Nation this morning. Just a quick cursory look of the Daily Nation. The Daily Nation is coming up shortly. This is what is on the front page of the Daily Nation. And now Uhuru crafted his own state. Is what is on the front page of the Daily Nation this morning. How Uhuru crafted his own state. Page 4 and 5 of the Daily Nation is where this is well fleshed out for you. Faced with numerous dilemmas, including a restless political base, a renegade deputy, corruption that stank to the high heavens, and politicos who attempted to hold him hostage, the son of Jomo went ahead and crafted an administrative state that could outlast all his other legacies. And at a glance, let's just look at a glance what is here. Handshake. There was a truce there with Odinga, who calmed political temperatures in some quarters but stoked them in others, especially in his Mount Kenya power base. That is President Uhuru Kenyatta's power base. We have on the military, soldiers and intelligence officers everywhere seem to be his working formula, including at NMS, KRA and immigration. Graft, his war on corruption, transnational crime and poaching in the second term was criticized as targeting some people unfairly. Also, there was a man called Matiang'i, who is Interior CS, and his PS Kibicho, who became the face of the government, courtesy of an executive order that weakened Ruto. This is how Uhuru crafted his own state. Legacy, hit or miss, inside the rule of Kenyatta the second. That is where we can see the flagger, hit or miss, inside the rule of Kenyatta the second. That is what is on the front page of the Daily Nation as a splash this morning. Now, we are also informed here that a suspected poacher with 100 million shillings bounty has been arrested. This is Abdul Aziz, was one of the 2 fugitives wanted by the US on poaching charges and was arrested in Liboi, Garissa County. Police sources say this story is well fleshed out for you on page 3 of the Daily Nation today. Expressway, redesigned to allow exit into the CBD. This is what people are saying. The Nairobi Expressway seems to have missed 2 important turns into the CBD from either direction, and now its planners say 2 will be introduced, but at whose cost again? At whose cost? And I think we need also to train our focus on this a bit. And Dr. Hassan Kanenje, we can actually talk about this particular predicament, especially with the expressway, where people, first of all, they're not informed when the various junctions or exits are closed, and they are frustrated. Looking even here at Mombasa Road, where we are, we can see sometimes if you miss that particular exit, in fact, it has been closed. People are not really informed when that closure was done. So you wake up one morning, you're driving, and you find the road has been blocked, it is closed. You're not given an alternative on where to go. If you're going, you want to turn around heading to town on the other side of, let's say, opposite Banari Way, MPPS, you'll find you can't actually join that particular road. You have to go until JKIA to go to the roundabout to come back, and then you'll find this traffic. People are coming from Kitengela, Mlolongo as well, Sio Kimau, they've joined the road, and you are also picking your ticket and joining the line, as it were. Okay. The frustrations. So the question is about, especially the expressway, is yes, we really admire and, of course, salute President Uhuru Kenyatta's very good salutary efforts in trying to, of course, expand the infrastructure in this country. But the way also it has been carried out is it has been the frustration. Many Kenyans have been frustrated because there was no proper communication on exits, no proper communications on boulders, potholes that have been dug. People will wake up one morning, you hit a boulder on the road, and this is, very risky for the safety of the citizens as well. Pick it up just a bit.
Yes, Dibal, the expressway, which is an 80-90 billion, shilling, project, is perhaps one of the most consequential projects we've had in Nairobi in a very long time.
Yes.
And whose benefits are going to be felt, I think, in the years to come. However, one thing we've created, especially with regard to the alternative expressway, is the express dead ends. And it has been a pain. The signage is poor. If I leave this studio, it took me 11 kilometers to get here from Kilelesha. Probably it's going to take me 38 kilometers to go back.
Yes.
In part because your U-turn is blocked, then there is no alleyway, there is no alternative, there is no ramp, and absolutely no information. A lot of times on the road, and I think a lot of Kenyans who drive in this town, and especially along Mombasa Road, can attest to it. You can run into concrete bars without any signage.
Yes.
You run into a road that has been removed without really any signage, any warning. Or you can run into a bump without even expecting. Last week it wasn't there, this week it's there. Yeah. And this is really causing a lot of pain to a lot of Kenyans. Yes. And it's even worse for those people who visit expecting that Kenya, with the kind of infrastructure we're building, we're actually not going to have that. And so I don't really buy the idea that we're going to fix the road downward there. At least put some signage so you can guide people and give them away. If there's a diversion, I think it's important to start letting people know. Part of what is creating also a lot of traffic is because the signage does not come, the warnings that doesn't come, and so you find yourself all cluttered in one place, in one corner, not knowing where to go. Last time, probably like today, I had to go all the way to Mbakasi just to turn around to start heading back, to town. Last week, and I suspect today, because I don't know the state of affairs, whether the U-turn is blocked or whether the U-turn is open. And so one of the pain that Kenyans have been complaining about is, yes, our Chinese contractors have been doing a good job upstairs. They've been doing a horrible job downstairs. And we should actually move with speed to save Kenyans the pain, the agony that they're going through. And I don't think anyone is happy. And most people who are watching this television today who is this road, they're going to attest to this. Please fix it. And the Minister in charge of Transport, tell our Chinese partners and contractors, please, to put proper signage, diversions, and keep alternatives, because what you're doing, you're creating hell instead of creating heaven that has been brought by the expressway.
Right, they always say you have to take the smooth with the rough as well. The rough of it is what Kenyans are being frustrated with exits are not blocked, or exits blocked and not getting proper information. Hamid Hashi, you're really straining at the leash and very antsy this morning.
I'm not straining at the leash while I'm on the chair. It's a bit hot in here. So the Chinese are not our partners, Debal. They're making a killing out of the roads in Kenya. We practically gave the Chinese all our money every month. That's why the Minister of Finance wants to raise the ceiling of the debt to 10 trillion shillings. This is on the roads, Debal. We're talking about the roads, aren't we?
Yeah, we're talking about the roads,
so
but...
it's the roads. The roads were not built by an angel. They were built by people from China.
I understand,
Yes.
but I wanted you to address the issue that he's addressing,
Yes.
especially
You mean,
with his
of
frustration.
traffic?
Yeah, of traffic and lack of proper information. And now we can see there's a good tidy sum of money that we are being told here that they have missed two important tons into the CBD from either direction. And now its planners are saying, they will have to introduce it. But at what cost?
Well, I'm not a traffic expert. Maybe Professor Midamba here might know one or two things, because I don't drive. So why don't you intervene?
You fly.
Yeah, our friend.
No,
has probably a helicopter. But now, here's the point. The Chinese have built a very, very good road that is going to be valuable for Kenya for years to come. we're going to pay for it, Dubal. Maybe someone can say it's unreasonable payment. But I've not seen any group or engineers, apart from Israelis and also Japanese, make roads like this. So now it is ours, it's an asset, and it's going to be here for a long time. Whether we pay it for 50 years, we will pay it for 50 years. And then after that, it is Kenyan, it is ours. The issue, Dubal, is the people responsible for implementation and what we call execution of project. And this is the reason, the very reason why the president depends on the military. Because the military is disciplined and they have focus, they have objective, and they know exactly what needs to be done. That's why they're turning Kenya Meat Commission around, Kenya Prison around, and the city of Nairobi, Dubal, has now places to walk, which was filthy and you know, awful for the capital city. And therefore, Dubal, we ought to put one military person in charge of implementation of this project at the end, so we can have sign where the signs are, and the citizens can be informed ahead of time, every morning and evening, in regard to the implementation of the flow of this road.
Ahmed Hashim.
Well, the whole idea of infrastructure should be also implemented in Kerio Valley. You remember we were just speaking about the insecurity there. This is a security show. The type of infrastructure we have here should also be in the Rift Valley. And we shouldn't privilege one county over another, even though this is the sitting room of the Republic, because it's the capital. I put it to you, Mr. Aine Debal, that there's some people who want to play around with the coming elections in 69 days. And I think there are politicians in the Rift Valley who are behind this kind of violent problems in the Rift Valley. I don't think that this is a situation in which one day one Pokot and one Turkana and one Elgeyo woke up, took some guns and started shooting children. I think the game's afoot. And you know, I want to congratulate our Minister of Internal Security, Mr. Fred Matiang'i, who is probably one of the best security people we've had in the system for a very long time. And I think that Mr. Matiang'i has been given executive powers by the president, and he should go after these people, these politicians who have been causing these problems in the Rift Valley. I think that the idea that we should put schools, hospitals, and the institutions of the market, the ball is very important there. Because the ball, you know that this whole rustling business, cattle rustling business, is because of the meat we eat in Nairobi. So if you go to the butcher here in Nairobi, the meat is probably from northern Kenya. So they rustle the cattle, then there's middlemen all the way to Nairobi, who then sell it to the butcheries here. So it's a money-making thing, the ball. It's a cartel.
But yes, we also see this when it is just cutting close to
the election.
That's
like precisely what I'm saying. I said this is politically inspired, and it is in the backyard of those guys called the yellow shirts, who don't want the Azimio people to come into Rift Valley. So I believe that probably I allege about that. The yellow shirts could be up to no good because they don't want an election to happen in Rift Valley because we are going to beat them. So I think the government should look into this issue very seriously.
But you know, those are very serious ramifications.
Yeah, there's very serious ramifications. It has happened before.
But also tripping off your tongue when you say, oh, it's a yellow shirts. You have no any
scratch
of it.
I said I allege. I did not say anything.
Right, so these are pictures coming live from Uhuru Gardens there, where we can see the military. We have also the GSU and other formations from the security agencies will be on the ground this morning to also give us the trooping of the colors. This marks the 10th and the last Madaraka Day for President Uhuru Kenyatta, who is expected to also address or talk about his scorecard, as you know, after 10 years. What tangible difference has he brought to bear on his leadership? in the development of his country, looking at the infrastructure, looking at the health sector, talking about the agriculture sector as well, the financial institutions, as it were. Where are we at as far as development is concerned with its Big Four agenda? Has he been able also to realize the dream of the Big Four agenda, as it were, that was meant to cognate and also dovetail with Vision 2030 that was under the regime of the late President Mwai Kibaki? This is Uhuru Gardens. The gates were opened at 6 a.m. this morning. Kenyans of all walks of life are trooping in this morning. They're reminded to wear their masks because of a pandemic still that is with us. We're not off the clear, and it has not really tapered off. In fact, it's rising steadily at 4% infection rate, we advised by the Ministry of Health. So we should go back to observing our social distancing, washing of our hands and donning of masks, as it were. It might be, yes, frustrating, but I think that is also important to make. At yesterday's launch of the NCIC election hotspots map that was happening here in Nairobi, and how they carried out that particular survey. But Emmanuel, over to you. Good morning again, and you can prime us what is happening currently. We can see the preparations are underway. We have the military